Hello, welcome to For Goodness Sakes by me, old Granny Anderson. Ever since COVID and then since our house burned down, which was March 29th at a wildfire in Rapid City, South Dakota, um, there was one house that burned down in the 2,000-acre fire, and it happened to be ours. Well, ever since then, I seem to be having a lot of trouble sleeping at night. Not every night, but many nights. And it can be a drag to wake up for a couple hours in the middle of the night. But gradually, after these many months, I have learned I can make good use of that time in the middle of the night. After tossing and turning for about a half an hour, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going back to sleep, I get up, and it's a clear night, and I'm in a place where there is a lot of man-made light, I can find a spot and I can go out and do some stargazing. Or if the moon is out, I can gaze at the moon. And I just sit there and look at that beautiful night sky. And it used to frighten me to think there was that huge, big universe out there. And now I find it comforting because of all the craziness that's going on here on Earth. I can still look up and see the stars shining every night. And it's just, I don't know, it calms and makes me happy to gaze up at that lights in the sky, whether it's a moon or stars or both. Um, I'm all by myself. There's a peaceful quietness about it. And the thing that's cool is that the night sky, well, the sky anytime, it's free to anybody. All you have to do is look up. And if you live in a place where there's so much man-made light that you can't see the stars very well at night, try and find a place where you can go and there isn't a lot of man-made light. And on a clear night, you can, even once in a while, you see a falling star. It's just amazing. But even if you can't see the stars at night, you can still look up at the sky during the day and see clouds floating by and just lay there and enjoy the natural beauty that's right above you. I I think it's a great way to calm and relieve stress. But recently there was a night that I was feeling pretty sorry for myself and pretty discouraged. Um, I I couldn't see the stars that night. We are living now, at least part of the time, in a rental house, and it was cold, it was cloudy, and I just didn't feel like walking outside and trying to see the stars. So um, I was in a pretty bleak pity party mood. Poor me, poor me. I was crying over all we lost in our house, all my personal and professional work just gone within an hour's time. And I mean, I have a right maybe to grieve it, but I don't have to go around being negative anyway. Um, I felt pretty angry and burned out, and I decided to go to my go-to method, is writing. I call it, when I'm stressed, I write. When I'm happy, I write. It's just what I do. It's my way of dumping all my emotional turmoil or happiness out on a piece of paper. That night, as I started to write it, it was not nice stuff that was coming out. It was pretty miserable and nasty. I was moaning and groaning. I was cursing myself. I was cursing other people. I was cursing the situation. I was cursing my lack of control. Heck, I was even cursing God. How could he or she, whatever pronoun is right, let all these bad things be happening to poor little helpless me and the struggles that my loved ones are facing too? Not to mention the whole messed up COVID threatened world. So I dumped it all out, my anger, my indignation, my fears, my hatred, my sadness, my sorrow. Most of what I wrote was pretty miserable, nasty towards myself and others. That positive voice of mine that usually shows up was even being pretty nasty. But then slowly, as it often does seem to happen when I write, the tone and the demeanor changed. Instead of, I think it was kind of maybe that's when the kicking in the butt started, which was, by the way, I forgot to say, this was the name of this little excerpt that I'm giving tonight. It's called A Kick in the Butt plus a Pat on the Back. And that's what I turned out to be doing with my writing. First I was all on this pity party, and then my parent voice came out and started saying, "Come on, April, quit feeling sorry for yourself. You've, yeah, things are tough, but they aren't that tough. And you have done a few things right," which was the pat on the back voice. You you wrote thank yous to your sister-in-laws who had both sent you family pictures to replace the lost, burned out pictures. In fact, I had written a bunch of thank yous to people that had been there for me. I had a close friend from college that still had our wedding pictures and sent me that. I had a friend from high school that sent me pictures. Um, I had siblings that replaced books I'd lost. A lot of people had reached out to us, and I'm not sure I got a thank you to everybody, but I had written thank yous to them. So good for them and good for me. Felt like a pat on the back. Um, Also, my husband and I, a couple days before, had insulated the uh, roof, the ceiling, and the walls in the garage of the rental house, so it will be warm for our dogs to stay in. And I had done a lot of the insulation up in the attic part because, well, first of all, I'm smaller and I can move around up there, and you had to be careful not to go through the sheetrock of the ceiling, but rolling out these big rolls of insulation. And we worked on it together, and we got it done a lot quicker than I thought we would have. Yeah, we were tired, but it felt good to work together, so that was a good thing. Then we'd gone and bought me a new teal colored, my favorite color, um, mixer that had burned up in the fire. And while we were there at Sam's Club, we also bought candy to hand out to trick-or-treaters. And I was really pretty excited because we have lived for many years. We haven't lived in a neighborhood where trick-or-treaters come around. There weren't a lot of kids that they come and do trick-or-treating. And I love handing out candy to the trick-or-treaters and seeing all these cute little kids in their costumes and their masks falling out. And some of them are trying to be spooky and they not succeed because they're too little and too cute. But anyway, I love handing out candy to trick-or-treaters. And we bought candy, and we had 50 trick-or-treaters. And I was so happy to get to do that again. So between those things and started thinking about, okay, you did need a kick in the butt to be told things aren't as bad as you're making them out to be. But it's okay if you cried a little bit. It is kind of a big deal to have your house burned down. But also, there's been so much good that's come out of it too. Relatives and friends have reached out, and my kids have been there for us. So there was a lot to be thankful for. So as I finished my journaling, I realized and maybe God, the Holy Spirit, had used my journaling to give me both a kick in the butt and a pat on the back. And quite frankly, I needed both. I needed to be told, get your act together, get off the pity party, and realize how much is still right with your life. In times of trouble, we often need both the kick in the butt and the pat on the back. We need to see some things we need to do differently that aren't working, but we also need to appreciate the things that are working and the things we are doing right and that our loved ones are doing right too. It's okay to be an imperfect human being living an imperfect life in an imperfect world. We can still keep going and find joy and purpose even when life seems pretty impossible. Have a great day. Take care of yourself. If you need to chew yourself out a little bit, do it. Give yourself a kick in the butt. But don't forget the pat on the back, too. That's all for goodness sakes by mean old Granny Anderson.